Ladies and gentlemen, so we have a new Chinese brand that's going to be hitting the UK roads, and this is OMODA. If you don't know who they are, basically it's a Chinese brand with a lot of commitment to make sure that this is going to be worth your time if you're looking for a new compact family SUV that's electric. Well, this has successfully launched across 15 territories or across the world. We're talking Southeast Asia, we're talking Eastern Europe, South and Central America, and in the UK they're going to be opening 50 retail stores with partners, so franchise. We're talking Arnold Clark, we're talking listers, so that way you'll be able to get hold of one of these if you're looking to test drive one and see if it's worth your time. If you still doubt their commitment, the warranty on this is 8 years battery warranty, if I can get my words out, and 100,000 miles as well, which is a whole lot of promise. Before we get too far into those promises, let's talk about the design. Let's get inside of the car and we'll take it on the road as well. We're in this amazing testing facility, which will be able to put it through its paces and see what it actually feels like to drive on the road. So yeah, let's get on with it. So this one here is the E5, which is the electric version of the ICE version, which is the 5, OMODA 5. Hope that makes sense. We've got a massive OMODA logo or writing on the front here, which I don't mind it. Some people might not like it, some people might like it. Remember BYD when it had that build your dreams on the back and they removed it eventually? That's giving me that sort of sense here, but we'll let them off. We've got this piano black finishing on the front here, which looks really good as well. I think it sort of gives it a nice contrast in terms of the color of this particular vehicle here. It comes in different colors as well. And then we've got this little bonnet scoop that goes on the bonnet here. The battery in this is 61 kilowatt hour battery, which is promising around 280 miles on the WLTP. If you'll do that on the everyday use and stuff, that's a totally different story. Back to the design, then we'll look at the bottom area here. We've got the camera there for your ADAS system, and it's just nice and subtle. There's no grille, obviously, because this is an electric car. We've got a little side curtain here again, helping with the aerodynamicness of the car, if that's a word. And unlike many of its competitors on the market, we also get a frunk in front as well. It's not that big, but it's enough to store your charge cables, or I don't know what you're storing there, but it's got a decent amount of space. I'm not sure how many liters that is, but there's something there for you to store your cables. And then here we have the LED headlight system all around here. It looks really good and snazzy. I love how slim profile this is. And then you got the side bit there as well. I think that's just a really good design on the car so far. Moving on to the side, we have 18-inch alloys on here, and this come with the E5 version in terms of trim level. And if you look at the car, it's actually quite compact. It looks compact, but it's actually spacious inside as well, which we'll talk about. In terms of competitor, we're looking at the BYD Atto 3, and this is actually quite smaller, just a tad bit smaller than the Atto 3, but there we go, it's beeping. But in terms of the actual look of it, it doesn't look smaller than the Atto 3, but in terms of numbers, this is smaller. And this will give you around, in terms of wheelbase length, I think it's around 2.6 meters, and it weighs quite a bit as well. I think you're looking at about 1.6 tons or so, but we'll leave our numbers on the screen for all those information to check out. We've got the wheel cover on there as well for aerodynamic nature of this car for EV to help with efficiency. And then we'll move over to the rest of the side. It's got a little dink in the lower area there. It's got all this clad in here so that, you know, when it comes to scratching the car and stuff like that, you're protected in some sort of way. There's no fancy recessed door handles or anything like that. There's no roof rails, so if you're going to be mounting stuff for your trips, you might have to find the third-party options. The back window is tinted, which matches the black cladding on the back here. This is not see-through on the back. We'll see how that affects the comfortability when we get inside of the car in the back. And then it kind of just raises up a bit higher on the back here, and we get this line that leads onto the LED tail lights, which leads us onto talking about the back of the car. We have our LED tail lights that goes all across the back, indicator light there, as you can see with that little animation, which looks really cool. The boot's already opening because it's electronically controlled, but we're going to close that for a minute. Just before we get in there, we'll talk about some of this back area here before we get inside of the boot. Again, a OMODA badge on the back there. We've got a nice roof spoiler. It's snazzy as well. Looks really nice in terms of design. Helps with that drag coefficient as well. And then we've got this boot lid spoiler as well that goes across it. We've got back window wiper. Bravo. It's like they tick all the boxes for all the things that people would normally complain about when it comes to electric cars. So that's good to have that there. We've got the E5 badge on the lower area there as well. Got all the parking sensors. Again, big cladding on the lower area here. So if you're going to be reversing into things and scratched out and stuff like that, that's not going to hurt the car as much as it would do if it's a actual body paint, but it looks really good. So back inside the boot, we're looking at 380 litres of boot space, so it's quite modest. It's not the biggest of boot spaces, but it's enough to fit things. And underneath that, there's a full spare wheels. I haven't seen that in a long time in any car at all, talk less of electric car. That adds extra weight to the car as well. So that's an interesting decision to add a full size spare wheel underneath there. But that's pretty much about the boot space. You can fold the seats as well to get extra space, in the boot. But that's probably about it. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And in case you're wondering where the charging port is, it's actually located on the front, which is actually not a bad thing at all in terms of accessibility. So you can just easily roll up to the charging station. You don't have to worry about which side of the car it is, which is a good idea. So this will support 9.9 kilowatts AC charging, so 3-phase, or 110 kilowatts DC charging, fast charge. So you're talking about 47 minutes to full charge and about half an hour to charge you back up to 80%. So it's not bad at all, right? Over in the back seat, let's check out what we have here. So we have a full USB-A port, one USB-C port, and there's a couple of buttons there for heated seats, hence this perforated sort of design on the seat for that. But other than that, this synthetic leather, so it's nice and soft, it's comfortable. I love the patterns all around the door cabin and stuff. There's plenty of space to store your bottle there as well. We even have our armrests with 2 cup holders, so you can store things there as well and rest your arm at the same time. And it's been put forward so that way you can rest your elbow without worrying about that sinking into the cup holders, which is really good. Knees are slightly raised to be high here, unfortunately, which means for longer journeys, you might start to feel uncomfortable in that sense. If you're tall like me, well, I say tall, I'm 5'11". There's space, a little bit of space to tuck in my feet, but not the best. It's kind of tight. You can see there because it's slightly raised underneath the driver's seat there, including the passenger seat as well. There's no transmission tunnel here, so you can easily move around and someone can perhaps sit in the middle as well. But obviously, if you sit in the middle, it just means there's less space, it's a bit cramped, but you can sit in the middle as well if you want to sit a passenger there. There's space here to store things like your documents and whatnot, maybe even your devices. And in terms of headroom as well, plenty of headroom, which is good. I'll take that headroom space anytime, all day, every day, just to make sure that I'm just nice and comfortable here. So my only qualms here would be the feet space is not a lot, so I can't really tuck it in for longer journeys, and the slightly raised knees as well. Otherwise, it would have been nice to have it a bit more comfortable than that. But otherwise, I think it generally looks good. Over in the front, it feels a lot more cozy in here. So for example, you got this big center console here that reduces the amount of space that you got for the driver, which makes it cozy, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you're someone who's slightly bigger than me, you might find that as an issue, because also this area here where you got all your controls for like your doors and mirrors and stuff, that sort of bulges out a bit more as well. So again, it's hitting your knees. I don't know how that's going to feel for longer journeys, but that's worth bearing in mind. You get Sony sound system in here, which sounds fantastic. You can adjust all the settings in the infotainment system, which we'll go through as well. Well, back to the center console, we have 2 cup holders here, which is really nice. Not that big, but it's functional. It will do the job. But what's really cool here is this fast wireless charging here. I think it's 20 watts fast wireless charging. But what's cool for me is they've also included a cooling system there as well. So you know how wireless charging goes in cars? It gets hot when it comes to charging, and then your phone shuts down or stops charging efficiently. But with that, it keeps it cool, and you've also got a cover as well to sort of keep it nice and covered if you don't want it to be on show. This is all glossy, sort of like wood finishing here on the sort of material used here. So that's going to attract a lot of fingerprint, but you can easily just wipe it off if it becomes bothersome. We have a few buttons here, so AC control, heating, so like your screen heating and stuff like that, hazard light mode, driving mode, and also power button for the infotainment system. So nice and simple and minimalist for all the stuff that you'd need just at your fingertips. Everything else is here, so things like your light control, cruise control stuff, and volume and all that stuff, information that you see on the instrument cluster. And then we open this bit. We've got a little cubby hole here, which I don't even know what you'd store there. Maybe your keys, maybe. I'd say keys, and then close it back up. And then there's another button here with a nice groove finishing. Reminds me of Genesis. And then in here, there's plenty more space to store things. And also this has a cooling system. So if you want to store like a bottle of water and you want to keep it cool, you can keep it in there and you're good to go. You start to see some plasticky elements all around the car, just here and there, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because it's going to be functional. You're going to be chucking things in and out of it, and those can sort of withstand more of those than any other material. Synthetic leather all around here as well, but I love the finishing though. The stitching looks really good. The seat looks sporty as well, nice and comfortable to sit in. It's got a heated seat, heated steering wheel as well. And this curved display is nice and big as well to be able to see everything you need to see. It's powered by Snapdragon processor, which means it's very fast and it works really well. There's also this nice cool design thing here, which is like the actual OMODA car just etched into the passenger area here, which looks really cool. I like that. Below here, there's a big space to store maybe your bag or something. It's a big space. And then this is where you also find your full USB for mirroring and also a USB-C ports for charging. Both are there for you if you need to do so. There's a 12-volt one on the other side of there. By the way, this also supports vehicle to load as well. So if you want to charge other things, I think it's like 3.3 kilowatts or something in terms of power output. I'll put numbers on the screen, so don't quote me on that. But yeah, it's capable of doing that if you want to charge stuff whilst your car's parked up as well. But yeah, let's go through this infotainment system and talk about all the cool tech that you can actually find on the display. So the infotainment system has this nice matte finishing on it. So in terms of like glare and reflection, that's a really good thing. So this is very straightforward as well, nicely laid out, very easy to maneuver. So if you see there, you got some quick options there already, like map and media and your usage in terms of consumption. You got vehicle settings and phone to connect to Bluetooth, or if it's already connected, you will see that there as well. What you can then do is swipe down. When you swipe down, you see some quick options as well. So instrument faults and messages. You got things like viewing the camera to see all around the car and so on. So you see some option there. So far, so good. And then right at the bottom there, which will always remain, are your climate control settings. So phone call, climate control, etc. If we press home, it would always take us back to this page because we're already home. Nothing's gonna happen, but this is climate control to see more information for climate control. So you got settings, for example, automatic cabin ventilation and stuff. You got your seat stuff for heated seats and AC control. So all that's there. You also have smart mode as well, so you can do rapid cooling and whatnot. If we swipe back down for that, so we go back home, you then have these two options here. So you can tap the car option, which gives you quick control. So you got vehicle settings here, so you can change things like the tailgate height. So if you don't want it to go all the way up, you can change how far up you want it to go, all the way down to 50%. Pretty cool. And then you got things like your steering wheel force. This is linked to driver mode, or you can switch it off so it doesn't link to driver mode. So if you're having comfort, for example, or sports mode, that would react accordingly. So it's probably going to become stiffer or softer depending on which mode you've got it on. Got things like automatic lock and so on and so forth. You can even switch off that wireless charging as well for your phone. So if you don't want it on at all, you can do so. So you can just have your phone there without affecting it. So let's go here before we go back to the other stuff in there, because we can go to that bit from the main screen basically. So you have navigation, audio, phone, pictures, videos, which you can connect via USB stick. You got scene mode, so you have different scenes in here. You got new energy app as well. So if we tap that, this would tell you your energy consumption stuff and charging information and whatnot. Go back there. We've got local settings. So again, this will take us to all the quick things that you can do. So I'm just going to switch hands for a minute. So we have voice on here. Actually, let's go to the top. For Bluetooth settings. So here you can connect your Bluetooth options, then sound, and sound you can connect or change, different things here. So you got your alarm tones and stuff. If you go to balance and fade, this is where you can change the sound quality settings. So equalizer, so pop, jazz, classic, rock, vocal, and you can also click custom as well and change things if you know what you're doing there. So let's just come out of that. And as I said before, this has a Sony sound system, which sounds absolutely great. And then you got a voice option. So you got a voice command on here, so you can say these keywords here. So with this, you can then use it to control basically anything in the car besides safety stuff. So you can't use this to turn off the car, for example, or switch on the car. But you can do things like, hello, OMODA.
Please continue.
Close the sunroof.
Okay.
Very responsive, does what you need to do. You can even use it to open the boot as well, but I'm going to open the sunroof again because it's quite hot in here. So hello, OMODA.
I'm coming.
Open sunroof.
Okay.
There we go. Even with my rubbish accent, it's still able to pick up what I'm saying. So it works really well there. Then we go to display settings. As always, you can do things like brightness and whatnot. You can go to system settings and change all the system settings that's available to you there. Device manager, again, for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both wireless as well and wired if you want to connect that way. Let's go back to that vehicle settings though, because on the driver assistance, you see the wide array of all the safety elements that you've got available. I've never seen so much in a car for this price point. It's amazing. So you have your ICC cancellation reminder. So this will turn off your intelligent cruise control system and remind you and stuff like that. We go back out of that. What I like is you can press that info on all of it, and it'll tell you exactly what they are. So you got drive away information. So if the car in front of you is moving away, it will let you know that they're moving away. So you can, in case you take your eyes off the road, it will tell you that. Overspeed alarm, you got speed assist, speed limit assist as well. You got intelligent speed control system. So it will monitor the road signs, the speed signs on the side of the road, to adjust the speed of the car accordingly. You then got intelligent high beam assist, so you don't blind other people coming on the other side. You got intelligent avoidance system. This is really cool because if you have a wider truck, for example, driving on the other lane, your car will swerve out just a little bit, still within your lane, to make sure that the big wide car doesn't scratch your car. Very smart. You got forward collision warning, automatic emergency braking, lane departure prevention, lane departure warning, emergency lane keep assist, door opening warning for, watching out for cyclists and whatnot. Rear collision warning, blind spot detection, rear cross traffic alerts. You even have braking, sorry, that's just gone off from where I was. You even have brake sensation linked to the driving mode as well. So you can switch that on. So if you want it to be connected to sport or comfort, it will adjust accordingly. You can even adjust your brake pitch control as well. Again, just so much options there available to you in terms of your intelligence assistant. So like I said, I've not seen this many before in a car. You got ambient light control, so you can change all the lighting in the car. You have one that can also be linked to music rhythm or linked to your driving style. So if you're in comfort or sports, you can change accordingly or pick whichever color you prefer. Got vehicle comfort, so you got rear view mirror adjustments of the side mirrors rather than rear view. I don't know why it's called rear view, because I would link that to my head mirror. But that's just for the side mirrors, so you can adjust them by using the steering wheel control there, as you can see. You can also do it on the door as well, so you don't have to necessarily use this to do it. But whilst you're here and you're doing all your settings, you'll be able to do just that. And then with all the cameras all around the car, you can view your surroundings. So you can see forward. I can tap the camera to see different sides of the car, or you can go 3D, and then look at that, you can just move around and it matches the color of the car as well. You can even see our chaperone over there who's making sure that we're not capturing anything dodgy here. But yeah, you can see the car all around it. Apart from the wheels, they're not the ones on the car though. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool that you can do all that stuff in the car. Plenty of tech in there. Let's have a look at the instrument cluster. So for the instrument cluster, again, it's a big display. It has all the information that you need. But one thing to bear in mind though is if you need to see the top layer of the screen, this here just blocks it a little bit, so you might have to adjust accordingly. So now I can see it clearly for my height, but otherwise, yeah, you won't be able to see the top area there. But there's not much important information in that top area anyway, besides the drive situation. So it's in park at the moment, so I don't need to see that, so that's okay. One thing to also notice is the fact that there's no start engine button at all in the car. You just have the control here, the gear shifter here. So that way you just put into drive and it's good to go. I think that's the same as Tesla's. There's no start button. You just have to get in the car, put into drive, and you're good to go. When you stop, put into park, get out the car just stops and locks itself and all that stuff. There's a couple of buttons here as well to adjust the brightness level and stuff. And then this area here, you can also change it on the steering. So you can change the information on there, as you can see there. And you can also make it full screen. So if we go to, let's go to maps, for example. So we can press and hold this. So it takes over the whole thing. But what's weird though is I can't then switch what's on that display. I have to exit first. So press and hold to exit again. And then I can change this to something else that allows me to do full screen. So if I go back to the trip, I can press and hold it again to reset on that one, sorry, rather than full screen. But it looks like just the map is the only one that I can go full screen with on here. But yeah, there you have it. You can go full screen with a map. But other than that, it's very straightforward in terms of giving you all the information you need, the range, the car status, the speed, and even the driver alert system. There's a little eye here to make sure it's watching you to make sure that you're always alert and you're not swaying off the road or anything like that when you become tired whilst you're driving. But yeah, pretty straightforward, minimalist to a certain extent, but it works really well. So on the road with the E5, and one of the great things about this is we get to drive this before it's on the UK roads, which is a lot of fun. But what that also means is this is not out there in the wild. We're actually just on this test facility just to see what it'd feel like once it hits the road. So we'll be able to see what that feels like. But let's get some numbers out the way. So this would do 172 kilometers per hour top speed. It would do 0 to 100 kilometers in 7.6 seconds, modest. And you've also got 340 Newton meters of torque and 204 PS in terms of power output, so 150 kilowatts. So you get all those numbers there, so you can wrap your head around it. It's not a lot, but that's not what this is aimed at. It's not for people, it's not for speed demons, it's not for people who want to be doing track days or anything like that. This is a compact family SUV, which means it should be practical, it should be comfortable, and it should also be good in terms of like range and charge speed and all that stuff. And I think this does exactly that. So we're looking at, 110 kilowatts DC charging, just moving over here. Plenty of sounds coming here, chiming for lane departure warning and lane keep and all that stuff as I'm moving in and out of my lane here. But back to the car. So this is built to aim at those things. So it's functional, you got decent amount of boot space, you got space in front to sort of charging cables and stuff like that. When it comes to the driving capability though, so we have different modes. We have eco mode, we have sports and normal mode as well. That's available to us. In eco mode, it just tones everything down so you can get longer range in terms of when you're driving. And when it comes to comfort, things are a lot more softer in terms of the steering wheel, the weights that you get on the steering wheel. And sports, it comes alive just a bit more, it just becomes a bit stiffer. But what I've experienced so far is the stiffness of the steering is not that much when it comes to the steering mode into sports mode. You can even change the settings on the infotainment system, which allows you to adjust this to make sure that it matches with what the driving mode is. And I've also switched that on just to see if it makes that much difference. And so far, it didn't make that much difference for me, but maybe that's something that can be tweaked in terms of software updates or anything like that. In terms of how comfortable it is though, I think it's very comfortable. So far so good. In fact, we've got a passenger at the back who says, it feels very good at the back as well, which is good news for people that are going to be carrying passengers, when they're driving and stuff like that at the back. But in terms of speed, it's not something that's plenty of speed, it's not that fast. But again, like I said, it's not built to be that fast car. It's meant to be comfortable. So it's very comfortable, visibility is great, it's all around the car. One qualms I've got with it though is the steering inputs in terms of how engaged it is with the road. There's some little curves here that I'm doing, little turning on the road, and I find myself having to almost overturn the steering to match what I'm actually seeing. So it's not that engaged with the road for me. I just want to turn a little bit to match exactly what I'm doing in front of me here, but I'm having to almost full lock it for something that doesn't require a full lock turning on the steering, which is a bit of a shame. But I guess the softness is a good thing, because if my dad or my mum was to buy something like this, I'd hate for them to have something that's heavily weighted. I want them to have something that's nice and soft, easy to drive, doesn't put strain on their arms or anything like that. Elsewhere, when we look at the body roll on the car weighs around 1.7 tons, so you're carrying a bit of weight with you as well. And what you will notice is there's a bit of body roll when you're going around cornering, but that's at higher speed. So when you build up speed a little bit, you feel the body roll a bit more. But when you go at your normal speed, lower speeds, it's nice and comfortable just going through the corners and bends. So when it comes to agility of the car, it's not the most agile car there is. It's not the most nimble. But again, this is built in an environment where you're going to be driving in urban environments and stuff like that. So I won't worry too much about that. But it still fills you with confidence enough to drive comfortably around corners and bends without stressing yourself out in terms of are you going to make it or anything like that. So it's still pretty good. In terms of comfortability, let's go back to that a little bit. These roads are pretty good, I would say, for what it is. So I wouldn't compare this, I wouldn't talk about that too much yet, because when it gets on the UK road, when we get the proper potholes, especially in London, we'll be able to see how comfortable that is going over those potholes. But this little speed bumps that we have here though, in terms of the suspension when it goes over them, you hear it, it's very stiff when you go over them. So if we go over one of these, I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it, but you sort of hear that. That's what it's going to sound like when it goes over potholes. It's yeah, enough of that. But yeah, I think overall though, for this entry into the UK market for this, I think it's one to definitely consider. It's got plenty of tech in it, fast charges there, good amount of range as well. It's comfortable inside, it feels premium, and just all round, I think it's a great car to consider if you're looking to get into the world of EVs, or you're looking to upgrade to something that's slightly bigger than what you're driving right now. You can see that amount of turn there. Oh, that's a lot of turning. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you have any questions, drop them there as well. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.